Family secrets are sometimes born from the best of intentions. A woman carefully hid her new business from her husband for 6 months. Her online store was bringing in 3 times her husband's salary. She saved money every day, dreaming of surprising him with the car of his dreams. But life had its own twist. On the very day she decided to reveal the truth, her husband gave her a surprise of his own. Hello dear listeners. This is Andre Belli, and you're on the channel Revelation of Daughters-in-Law. I present to you my new story. Enjoy listening. Ksenia returned from work and sat down at the computer, as she had done every evening for the past 6 months. Officially, she worked as a manager at a small company for 40,000 rubles. But her real money came from her secret project, an online store selling Korean cosmetics. The idea came by chance, when a friend asked her to bring her cream back from a business trip. Orders started coming in one after another. First from friends, then from their friends. Ksenia was now earning 120,000 rubles a month. Her husband, Stanislav, knew nothing. He worked as an engineer at a factory, earned 35,000 rubles, and constantly complained about the lack of money. The car was a particularly sensitive topic. The old Logan had finally died 2 months ago, and Stanislav now commuted to work by bus, which took an hour and a half each way. Every evening he scrolled through classifieds, dreamily examining used cars. Here's this beauty, he'd show Ksenia. It's a 2012, honest mileage, only 700,000. The owner's asking 900,000, but we can negotiate. Ksenia nodded, thinking she'd already saved enough for the purchase. There was almost 500,000 in a secret account. She planned to surprise Stanislav for their 5th wedding anniversary, buy him that very same Camry and park it in the yard with a huge bow. She imagined how happy he'd be, how grateful he'd be, how they'd go on their first ride together. But for some reason, every time Ksenia was about to tell him about her business, something stopped her. Maybe she wanted to keep the suspense going until the end, or maybe she was afraid Stanislav would start interfering, giving advice, controlling her. For now, the store was her domain, a place where she felt successful and independent. Every morning after seeing her husband off to work, Ksenia would process orders, pack parcels, respond to clients, and negotiate with suppliers. By lunchtime, she'd finish all her household chores and head to the office, where her colleagues considered her a model employee. No one suspected that she devoted most of her workday to developing her own business. Stanislav grew increasingly gloomy. Problems at the plant, delayed wages, and endless commutes on public transportation were wearing him down. He began staying late after work, citing overtime, coming home late and immediately collapsing on the couch in front of the TV. The conversations grew shorter, and dreams of a car became less frequent. Maybe I should take out a loan, Ksenia suggested one day. For what? Stanislav laughed bitterly. My income certificate is like a death sentence, and I don't want to overpay. I'd rather save up for another year or 2. Ksenia remained silent. A year or 2 seemed like an eternity to her, especially when the money was already sitting in the account, waiting for its time. She even called the seller of that very Camry and arranged a meeting for the following week. All that remained was to choose the right moment for the surprise. Fate chose the right moment. On Friday evening, Ksenia received a particularly large order. A Korean company offered to become the official distributor in the region. The contract size made her heart beat faster. This meant moving to a whole new level, opening her own recruiting office. She imagined telling Stanislav about it, how they would plan the development of the family business together. The mood was festive when she heard the keys in the lock. Stanislav entered earlier than usual, but there was a strange expression on his face, a mixture of determination and guilt. Ksyusha, we need to talk, and I have something to tell you too, she responded cheerfully. But you go first. Stanislav walked into the living room without taking off his jacket and stopped in the middle of the room. I'm seeing someone else. The words hung in the air. Ksenia blinked, not immediately understanding what she'd heard. What, 3 months already? This is serious. I want a divorce. The world has rocked. All the joyful plans, anticipations, surprises, and dreams of a future together have crumbled like a house of cards. Ksenia sat down in her chair, feeling her blood run cold. Who is she? She works in the next department. Svetlana. We have a lot in common. And don't we have enough in common? 5 years of marriage. Shared plans. What plans? Stanislav snapped. You see our future. I'm an engineer for next to nothing. You're a manager for next to nothing. A rented apartment, bus rides, vacations in the countryside with my parents. With Svetlana, everything is different. In what way different? And she earns well. An interior designer in private practice. She has her own apartment, a car, prospects. We can afford a normal life. Ksenia listened, unable to believe her own ears. So it was about money, about her inability to provide him with the standard of living he desired. The irony of the situation was striking, and she was just about to show him that she could give him everything he dreamed of. Stanislav, if I told you I had money, where would you get it from? He laughed, but it was an evil laugh. Ksyusha, don't tell me fairy tales. I understand everything, you're a good person, but I need something more. I've been running my own business for 6 months, earning 120,000 a month. I wanted to surprise you and buy you a car. Stanislav froze. What? I have 1,000,000 rubles in my account. I agreed to buy you that Camry you liked. I wanted to give it to you for our anniversary. Her husband's face changed right before her eyes. Mistrust gave way to understanding, understanding to calculation. Calculation to greed. Are you kidding? Ksenia silently pulled out her phone, opened the banking app, and showed her balance. Stanislav stared at the numbers, and his eyes widened. 1.5 million. And I thought, you mean all this time you've been earning for our future while you were dating someone else. But now everything has changed. He rushed to her, tried to hug her. Ksyusha, I was a fool. Course we can discuss everything, reconsider. Ksenia pulled away. Nothing has changed. You made a choice and not in my favor. But I didn't know. If I had known, that's exactly it. If only I had known about the money, I would have stayed. But instead I chose the richer one. It's not true. Love you. You just love money more. Go to your Svetlana. I hope she lives up to your expectations. Stanislav tried to object, to persuade, to swear eternal love, but the words rang hollow. Bank account numbers, not remorse, swam in his eyes. He left only at midnight. Having promised to discuss everything tomorrow, Ksenia didn't sleep until morning. The pain of betrayal mingled with relief. Now she knew who was who. In the morning she called a locksmith, changed the locks, and sent Stanislav a message that his things would be waiting at the concierge. The divorce took 3 months to finalize. Stanislav tried to claim half of the business, but the lawyer explained to him that the online store had been created with Ksenia's personal funds after the marriage, and therefore was her property. Attempts to prove that he provided advice or participated in development failed. There was no documentary evidence. Ksenia still bought herself a Camry. The car was convenient for delivering orders to large clients and traveling to meetings with suppliers. The business grew. The contract with the Korean company brought in even more money than she had expected. 6 months after the divorce, she ran into Stanislav by chance at a shopping mall. He had aged considerably, looking haggard and wearing an old jacket. A woman of about 40 was walking next to him, her face tired and dissatisfied. Sveta, maybe we should get some coffee, he suggested. For what? His companion snapped. You don't even have enough money for the fare, and I have no desire to spend it on a freeloader. They passed by without noticing Ksenia. She stood there, thinking about how just the world really is. Stanislav got exactly what he was looking for. A woman with money. It turned out, however, that women with money aren't very fond of men without it. A year later, Ksenia opened a second store, this time selling premium cosmetics. She hired 3 employees and rented an office in the city center. Her turnover exceeded 1,000,000 rubles a month. She bought an apartment in a new building, traveled, and took entrepreneurship courses. She didn't want to think about her personal life. The business took up all her time and brought her satisfaction. But fate had other plans. At one of her business training sessions, she met Maxim, who was developing a chain of coffee shops. They liked each other immediately, and when they learned about each other's businesses, they realized they could be a great team. Maxim wasn't interested in the size of her accounts. He had his own money, his own ambitions, his own plans. They met as equals, discussed business development strategies, shared experiences, debated marketing, and dreamed of joint projects. They got married 2 years after they met. It was a modest affair, attended by only close friends and family, but it was beautiful. They spent their honeymoon in Japan, exploring the local cosmetics market and the intricacies of doing business. Stanislav learned about the wedding through mutual friends. By then, he had already broken up with Svetlana. She was tired of supporting her penniless husband and found a more promising partner. He rented a room in a communal apartment and made ends meet with odd jobs. The factory had closed a year ago. "Maybe you should congratulate your ex-wife," a friend suggested, showing him photos from their wedding. "What's there to congratulate?" he replied gloomily. She was lucky to have found a rich fool. Stanislav wasn't a fool. He was a businessman himself, earning his own money. They were more equal than each other. That was the most painful truth. Ksenia had found a man who valued her for more than just her wallet, and she, a man who didn't need her support. They formed a union of equals, a partnership in business and life. 3 years later they had a son. Ksenia didn't quit her job and hired a manager to oversee day-to-day operations while she looked after her child. Maxim also played an active role in raising her. They shared responsibilities equally and enjoyed a happy family life. The business continued to grow. Third store opened, then a fourth. Maxim suggested joining forces and locating coffee shops next to cosmetic stores. The idea turned out to be brilliant. The women happily sipped coffee while choosing creams and lipsticks. Stanislav, however, hadn't managed to settle down. He worked as a security guard at a supermarket, rented the same room in a communal apartment, and occasionally dated other losers like himself. He sometimes thought of Ksenia, especially when he saw ads for her stores on city billboards. He imagined what his life could have been if he hadn't made that fatal mistake, but time can't be turned back. Ksenia, however, never regretted what happened 5 years ago. Stanislav's betrayal revealed her true worth, and it turned out she was worth much more than she thought.